All right, good evening. I have a sense that we will have more people coming in here as we get started, but I'm glad that y'all are here, and I'm glad that we get to have time on Wednesday where we get to fellowship with one another, get to spend some time catching up through the week, letting each other know how the week's been for us, and listening to each other, being there for each other, and then growing in God's Word. So if you will, listen up as we've got a few prayer requests and other announcements that we want to make you aware of. Andrea Giesentanner's mother is having a surgery tomorrow at Norman Regional Hospital, so we want to keep her in our prayers. Bill Morgan, he is now at Ignite Rehabilitation, and we want to continue to keep him in our prayers. We're thankful that he's doing better. Some general announcements. Continuation of what we've heard for a little while. If you have donations and gifts for the Norman Public Schools students, pass those along to Shannon Johnson, and you can leave those in the office no later than this Sunday, the 14th. You can text her or email her at shannonj@normanps.org with questions, or if you have, or if you'd like to help in any way. Our food pantry, we are in need of stocking it, and so if you'd like to help with that, please get a bulletin, look in there. You can find the bulletin online and look at that to see the list of items that we need. This Saturday, the youth and anyone who would like to help. In fact, if you would like to let me know that your e-group would like to help with one of the houses as well, we're going to be going out at 9 a.m., or if you're an e-group and you say, hey guys, let's go do this, you let me know and I will get you the information of the houses that need to have their leaves raked. But we're going to do that. The youth are this Saturday morning at 9 a.m., and we've got a few members, so bring rakes, bring some work gloves, and we will go out and have a blast. We'd love our families and everyone to take part in this. Tonight, Ryan Dent will be leading our songs for us. Kason Fuchsa will bring a prayer to us on behalf of us to God. And then our classes tonight, we had our early bird class tonight going over the book of Romans. And then the university, here in a little bit, will go speak on milk to meat, from milk to meat. That's a combination of different teachers in there. Here in the multipurpose room, Curtis Mullins will be speaking on Jeremiah, and in the overflow room, Philip Johnson will be speaking on Christian apologetics. Let's begin.
Let's be standing for our first song this evening. Each day I'll do a golden deed by helping those who are in need. My life on earth is but a span, and so I'll do the best I can. Life's evening sun is sinking low. A few more days, and I must go to meet the deeds that I have done, where there will be no setting sun, while going down life's weary road. I'll try to lift some traveler's load. I'll try to turn the night to day, make flowers bloom along the way. Life's evening sun is sinking low. A few more days, and I must go to meet the deeds that I have done, where there will be no setting sun. Please be seated, and we'll now be led in our opening prayer.
Let's pray. Dear Lord, thank you for this day, and thank you for all you've done for us. Thank you for letting us assemble here together as a family and help us worship you and learn about you in a way that is pleasing in your eyes. Please take care of the people that are on our prayer list and are struggling right now. Please help us be safe while we're traveling in the holidays. Please do all these things in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Beautiful star of Bethlehem. O beautiful star of Bethlehem, shining apart through shadows dim, giving the light for those who long have gone, and guiding the wise men on their way unto the place where Jesus lay. Beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. O beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine upon us until the glory dawn. Oh, give us thy light to light the way into the land of perfect day. Beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. O beautiful star, the hope of light, guiding the pilgrim through the night, over the mountain till the break of dawn, and into the light of perfect day, it will give out a lovely ray. Beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. O beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine upon us until the glory dawn. Oh, give us thy light to light the way into the land of perfect day. Beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. O beautiful star, the hope of rest, for the redeemed, the good, the blessed, yonder in glory when the crown is won. For Jesus is now that star divine, brighter and brighter he will shine. Beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on. O beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine upon us until the glory dawn. Oh, give us thy light to light the way into the land of perfect day. Beautiful star of Bethlehem, shine on.
Am I on now? There we go. Hey, I've got a few pictures I want to share with you. Mostly I want to share with you the person on, what side is that? Left, on my left. I'm the messy one, eating spaghetti, I think. I don't know. I was there, but I don't remember this scene. But that person right there beside me, I've known him since December 19th, 1985. We've been on and off good friends since then. And then in more recent years, I consider him one of my best friends. His name is Matt. I don't know what we were doing in the tunnel, except I think it looks like an Easter day where we're wearing pastels right there, smiling big for the camera. We're having some fun. There we are, maybe a little bit older or a little younger. I don't know the order of these pictures, but I happened to find them. I had them somewhere. And Matt's been with me for a long time. He's my brother. We grew up together. And I don't know about you all and your brothers or your sisters, but we loved each other. And we showed that by getting along. We showed it by not getting along, picking on each other, maybe fighting every once in a while. I had to give Matt a t-shirt. He was not wearing one, so I had to put a t-shirt on him there. We even, growing up, we had really terrible haircuts and hairstyles. That bald spot right there on me as I'm looking down, absolutely hated that haircut. I was given a flat top for as long as I can remember, and then about my junior year, I said I'm done with the flat top because of that bald spot right there that made me look like a skunk. And so I grew my hair out. And some of you remember those days when my hair, it kind of got down to my lips, and it was ugly because instead of a bald spot right there, I just had this part right down the middle. And it was long, stringy hair. And now that bald spot has just grown tremendously. And Matt's hair is not that color. He's gone natural, I think. We've grown up a little bit. We still wrestle. We were wrestling at his house at one point, I think trying to show his daughters how to defend themselves or something like that, and I'm the dummy. Not only for illustrations, but because I volunteered, I think, to be in there. Last year, in October, he took me to Moab, Utah, and we got to ride side-by-sides together. I love it. It was a blast. We went with the big crew from Blanchard, had a lot of fun for a whole week. We get to raise our families together. We've got beautiful families. We get to spend time together. We get to celebrate important days in each other's lives. Catherine's birthday that she just had this past year here at the building. And then we get to go to Oklahoma Christian together, and we get to go to lectureships and spend a few days there as my oldest niece, his oldest daughter, it's her first year at OC, she brought us coffee that morning. And she spent money on us, and then she learned we had coffee there for free. And it was the same stuff that she had, but we were really thankful. He's someone I can call. He's someone that I can talk to. He calls me, he sends me messages and says, hey, I'm studying this, and what is this? And I call him back and I go, I don't know, but we'll study it together. Or I call him back and give him my thoughts, and he says, okay, those are lining up with the other two guys that I've been reaching out to. I call him when I'm going through struggles in life, and he might do the same for me. And we just talk. There are days that we spend an hour and a half on the phone. I've never grown up being a phone person. I don't like the phone very much. Anytime I would drive out to Amarillo to visit my dad, my mom would always say, hey, Chris, when you get there, call me. Okay. I would get there, and 2, 3, 4 hours later, my stepmom would go, did you need to call your mom to let her know you made it? And oh, yeah, I need to. I just didn't call people on the phone. It just wasn't my thing. I love calling him, talking to him. I mean, we talk about things that we're studying, and we grow together. It's great. And when I think about this relationship that we have, I think about Proverbs 27, verse 17. Iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. Matt sharpens me spiritually, but he also sharpens me as a father, as a dad. He sets me straight when I need it in the most loving way. He's super gentle. Growing up, he was not gentle. He would pick on me, and then I'd finally go, whoa, and I'd hit, and man, he would rear back and hit me harder. And I could never win. But we love each other so much, and he's just this gentle giant to me. And he's my iron. He's one of my irons. And I just wonder, do you have an iron in your life? Do you have someone that you can turn to, and you can go to them whenever you're struggling with life? Whenever you're studying the Bible? Someone that you can say, hey, I'm studying this, and I don't get it. Is this what it's saying? Or maybe you're studying something that you've never thought about before, and you go, man, I really think it's saying this, but I don't know. This is strange to me. And they say, I think so too. And maybe y'all study that together, and they just build you up in Christ. They build you up in your faith. Do you have someone like that? I want to challenge you to find your iron. Find someone. If you don't have them, Find someone. Catherine's one of my irons. And I've got other irons in my life too. It doesn't have to just be one person. But I challenge you to find an iron in your life who is going to make you sharper, going to lead you closer to Christ, make you better. It'll help you in the end. If there's anything we can do for you tonight, if you need prayers, if you need help finding that iron, or you've got questions and you want to be sharpened, we're here for you. If there's something we can do, please come now as we stand and as we sing.
Hadn't led this one in a while, so I had to throw it back in here. So. Had it not been the Lord who was on our side, had it not been the Lord who was on our side, the anger of the enemy would have swallowed us alive. Had it not been the Lord who was on our side, blessed be the Lord who would not give us up. Blessed be the Lord for his unfailing love. The snare is broken and we have escaped. Our help is in the name of the Lord. Blessed be the Lord. Had it not been the Lord who was on our side, had it not been the Lord who was on our side, the water would have engulfed us, we would have surely died. Had it not been the Lord who was on our side, blessed be the Lord who would not give us up. Blessed be the Lord for his unfailing love. The snare is broken and we have escaped. Our help is in the name of the Lord. Blessed be the Lord who would not give us up. Blessed be the Lord for his unfailing love. The snare is broken and we have escaped. Our help is in the name of the Lord. Our help is in the name of the Lord. Blessed be the Lord. You're now dismissed to your classes.
guys are in the spray zone. Yeah, it's a SeaWorld. They say you're gonna get wet. Yeah. All right, good evening, guys. We'll go ahead and get going here tonight. Glad you are here this evening. During this quarter, on Wednesday night, we're going to investigate some Christian evidences, Christian apologetics, whatever you want to call it. And with any study, that there has to be a beginning. With every journey, you have to have a first step. I don't know if you've ever read or seen the book, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. But in this book, the boy comes up to the edge of a forest, and he's looking at the forest, and there's so many trees, the vegetation is so thick that he can't see his way through it. So he turns to the horse, and he says, I can't see where to go. I can't see my way through the forest. And the horse says back to the boy, can you see your next step? And the boy said, yeah. And so with each step, he was able to make his way through the forest. Sometimes we're that way when it comes to the Bible. It seems so big, so vast, so much information. Where do I start? Where do I begin? It just seems like an impossible task to understand God's Word, to be able to share God's Word. We just need to take steps, one step at a time. And with each step that we take towards God, we gain information. With each step that we take as we read the Bible, as we communicate with God, it makes a difference in our life. So with Christian apologetics, there has to be a first step. So what's the first step? What's the most important subject that you need to think about, that you need to cover in this vast subject? When I was starting out in ministry, I had opportunities to study the Bible with different people. I typically started with this question: is the Bible from God? And that's an important question, and that's a question we'll look at maybe next week or down the road sometime. But over time, especially as society has shifted, I believe there's a question we have to ask even before we get to that one. Does God exist? If you don't believe God exists, then the question of whether the Bible's from God is really irrelevant. If God does exist and you believe that He exists, then you can move to that question. Well, what about the Bible? Is the Bible from God? Is the Bible inspired by Him? So tonight, our first step is going to be looking at this big question: is there a God? Does God exist? And we're going to look at evidence that points to the existence of God. The challenge we have at times, especially if we're studying with somebody who's not a Christian, somebody who's out in the world, when you're providing evidence for the existence of God, or if you're providing evidence that the Bible is from God, it's important that we can do that without using the Bible as the only source. Think about it. If a person is wrestling with these questions, if a person is wrestling with whether God exists or doesn't exist, if a person is wrestling with belief in the Bible being from God, if the only evidence that you present from them is from the Bible and they don't believe the Bible is from God, or they're having questions about that, that evidence doesn't carry a lot of weight with them. So when it comes to these questions, we have to have a twofold approach. We have to be able to provide, and there's a lot of it, we have to be able to provide evidence outside of the Bible that they can look at, that they can see, that shows God exists, that shows the Bible is from God. And then we also need to be able to go to the Bible. But we have to start with some of this empirical evidence outside of the Bible itself. And there is that evidence that exists. So tonight, I want us to think about evidence pointing to the existence of God. Let me ask you this question. If somebody at your workplace or one of your kids came up to you and asked this question, why do you believe God exists? What would you say? If somebody just asked you that question, maybe it's one of your kids, just curious. They come to church with you, they may be 4 years old, and they may have that, well, why do you believe in God? Why do you believe God exists? Maybe it's a friend at work, you developed a relationship, and they know you're a Christian, they see how you live your life, they know you're different, you act different, you live different, and so they ask you about your belief. Why do you believe in God? Why do you have this faith that impacts your life in ways that I can see? What would you say? How would you answer that question? Many assume that Christianity rests on blind faith, but Scripture presents faith as rooted in truth, history, and evidence. God has not hidden himself from us. He has revealed himself in so many ways. So let's look at some of the evidence. I think we have to start with creation, just evidence from creation itself. Now keep in mind that twofold approach that I mentioned, being able to use evidence outside of the Bible to prove that God exists or to provide evidence that he exists, and then also using the Bible itself to show evidence for God's existence. With creation, it's easy to do that, isn't it? We look at creation and we see things that are around us. We see the world as it exists, so many things that are amazing to us. And you look at the mountains, you look at the ocean, you look at the trees, you look at the changing of the seasons, you look at the birth of a child, the birth of animals, you look at what happens in the universe as a whole on an ongoing basis, a daily basis. Creation, it sings about the presence of God continually on a daily basis. There are things that we encounter, things that we see, things that we come across that are just huge, that are massive, that are big. And the question that I have, and especially if you're studying with somebody who's maybe questioning God, perhaps questioning the Bible, is this from God? Is it really from him? People that are thinking about those thoughts, thinking about those questions, I believe they're looking for evidence. They're looking at what's going on around them. That they're trying to answer that question honestly in their life. So there are laws within creation that can be helpful to us. And when you get into some of the laws, this gets into the area of science. I used to teach science. I always tell Shannon that she's married to a scientist, a farmer, a preacher, a coach. Let's kind of go down the list. She tries to add the word maid. She wants me to be the maid. Yeah, I don't do much of that. But you look at the scientific world, and within science, there are established laws. And the established laws of science are always true in our physical world. They're laws. Now you can contrast laws with theories. Think about the theory of evolution. It is not a scientific law. It is a scientific theory. There is a difference between a law and a theory. A law is something that is true. It's always true. There are so many laws that we can look at. I don't want to get bogged down in this, so I'll just share with you one. Consider the law of cause and effect. It's a pretty easy law to understand. And as far as science knows, natural laws have no exceptions. And you look at the law of cause and effect, many consider it to be the most universal, the most certain of all laws. And simply put, the law of cause and effect states that every material effect must have an adequate cause that existed before the effect. Everything that we see, think about the mountains. We look at the mountains and we know that they formed. There had to be something that existed that brought that about. We think about the oceans. You go to the beach, you look at just the hugeness of the water. You just look out there, it seems like you're just looking forever, and it's just water as far as you can see. There had to be something that existed before that brought about the oceans. And you can do this with everything that you see with your eyes, everything that you hear. There had to be something that brought that about, that brought that into existence. And when you look at that definition, I'll read it for you again. The law of cause and effect states that every material effect must have an adequate cause that existed before the effect. The word adequate is huge. A river doesn't become muddy because a frog jumps into it. We know that. That is not an adequate cause. A book does not fall off of a table because a fly landed on it. That is not a big enough effect. So you look at everything that we see around us. And even individuals who are not Christians, maybe they're a skeptic, maybe they're an agnostic, maybe they're just a seeker, they have questions. Every person, no matter where they're at in this faith journey, they can see creation around them. They experience creation in their life. So we look at things that we encounter every single day. We see the effects. What caused it? What brought it about? The Grand Canyon. What brought it about? There had to be a cause. It wasn't drizzle one afternoon that caused the Grand Canyon to form. It's not big enough. As big as the Grand Canyon is, as big as the Rocky Mountains are, as big and vast as the oceans are, think about the universe as a whole. That's big. That is a big effect. What caused it? What is big enough, powerful enough, what existed before that was able to bring the universe, the universes into existence? Creation is not silent. It shouts continually at us. And what it is shouting, if we'll listen on a spiritual level, the creation is shouting at us, I was made, I was formed, I was created. And that is logical. Have a shoe here. It's a Saucony. It's a Guide 18. It smells all right. Not too bad. Anybody else want to sniff it? Anybody? Any volunteers? To think that this shoe just all of a sudden came into existence, that everything just fell into place for this shoe to form, that's nonsensical, isn't it? Somebody had to design this. Somebody had to stitch it. Somebody had to glue it. Somebody had to work on this to make this possible. Now, this shoe is pretty small compared to other things in the world, compared to other things in the universe, compared to the universe itself. So when we look at the worlds, when we look at creation, it definitely has order, doesn't it? Just like this shoe. This shoe has order. It's got laces. It's got a sole. It's got an insole. It has whatever that is called that makes me a little taller. You know, you have all of that. You have design behind it. Somebody designed it. Somebody created it. So when it comes to creation itself, it's only logical that there's a creator behind it. Now let's look at some of the intricacies of the universe, the fine-tuning of the universe. Scientists agree that our universe is incredibly fine-tuned. Gravity is calibrated to 1 in 10 to the 60th power. That's how minute the fine-tuning is with gravity. The expansion rate of the universe is precisely set. The Earth is located in what scientists call the Goldilocks zone when it comes to temperature, when it comes to conditions that support human life. If any constant were off by just a fraction, existence on this planet would be impossible. Life could not be sustained. Life could not exist. So you have the fine-tuning of the universe, just the way the earth is tilted on its axis. So many fine points within science that you can look at. And with creation, I think all of us, and even people that are struggling in their faith, wrestling with their faith, skeptic, whatever we want to categorize it as, they would agree that there is order to the universe. Science proves that. The scientific laws prove that. We've looked at the law of cause and effect. You can look at the laws of thermodynamics, the laws of physics. All of them point to order in our universe. And when you look at God's creation itself, within the human body, the intricacies that you see are amazing. I'll just give you one example from the human body. The human eye is amazing. I don't know if we realize how precise and detailed the human eye is. I'll read this to you. The human eye is one of the most complicated mechanisms in the world. Even Charles Darwin said that it is hard to believe that this magnificent device could arise by chance, accidentally. The eye gathers over 80% of the knowledge that is transmitted to the brain. The brain is connected to each eye by over 600,000 nerves that sends it messages at a speed exceeding 300 miles an hour. Scientists tell us that the eye receives 1.5 million messages at the same time, sorts through them, and sends them to the brain. The retina covers less than a square inch and contains 137 million light-sensitive receptor cells, 130 million rods, allowing the eye to see in black and white, and 7 million cones, allowing the eye to see in full color. On any given day, the eye may move about 100,000 times using muscles that, milligram for milligram, are among the body's strongest. The body would have to walk 50 miles to exercise the leg muscles an equal amount. The eye is self-cleaning, going on from eyelids act as windshield washers. The blinking process keeps the sensitive cornea moist and clean. Tears contain a potent micro bee killer lysosome that guards the eyes against bacterial infection. And there's so many other things. It's just amazing what the eye itself can do. That one stat that I read, really grabs my attention, where it says the body would have to walk 50 miles to exercise the leg muscles an equal amount to what the eye does, just the blinking. Shannon and I just got back from New York, and on our trip, we had planned out things we wanted to do. One of the things I wanted to do was just spend a day in Central Park. Central Park's pretty big. I didn't realize quite how big it was, but 30,000 steps later, realized it's a pretty big park. The south part of the park is kind of what we envision, what we see on TV, Home Alone. It's more scenic. Get on the north end, more ball fields, tennis courts, different things. But 30,000 steps, that's a lot. Shannon wasn't happy with me at the end of that day. But 30,000 steps, how many miles is that? Yeah, somewhere in there. 50 miles? You imagine walking 50 miles a day? That's the work the eye does. And that's just one part of the human body, one part of our anatomy, just the details of creation. And you get beyond even the human body. We have a bird that was created with a thermometer. We have a beetle that's able to do amazing things for protection. I'll read you a little bit about the bombardier beetle, because the way it is designed is just simply amazing. The bombardier beetle is a little creature that packs a big punch. He has 2 storage chambers, one on each side of his body. In one chamber, he keeps hydrogen peroxide. Yeah, same stuff that your parents put on your scraped knee, except stronger. And chemicals known as, can't pronounce that. So there's other chemicals. In the other chamber, he stores enzymes. When the 2 are kept separated, they are perfectly harmless. But if an enemy attacks this little beetle, he empties the 2 chemicals into a central chamber within his body. And as a result of this mixing process, the chemicals form liquids and gases that heat up to 212 degrees Fahrenheit, the boiling point of water. The beetle takes aim with 2 small gun-like projections on the rear of his body and fires the boiling mixture into the face of his attacker. The caustic chemicals shoot out, the enemy is thwarted, and the little beetle goes on his way. It's amazing. That's just a little beetle, something that to us seems so insignificant. This bird with a thermometer, it's able, sometimes we had to hold the thermometer under our tongue, blah, blah, blah. When the time comes for the female mallee fowl to lay her eggs, the male bird digs a pit in the ground and piles a large mound of sticks and leaves in it. He covers his pile with sand, sometimes making it as tall as 4 feet. With the sand on top, the leaves and sticks begin to rot, which produces heat. The male makes a hole in the top of the mound where the female lays 1 egg. About a week later, he will make another hole in which she will lay another egg. The process goes on until there are about 18 eggs in the nest. Several times every day, the male pokes his beak into the mound. He sticks out his tongue, which is such a good thermometer that it can measure a temperature change of 1/10 of a degree. If the mound is too hot, he removes some of the sand. If it is too cool, he adds more. And the baby birds hatch after about 7 weeks. It's just simply amazing how God created all things. And I bring up God here because this is where, after you provide evidence, and there's books like this, Out with Doubt. There's another book that provides more evidence. There's so many resources that you can use. But after you look at some of this evidence from science, especially looking at the scientific laws, when you talk to people about Christian evidences, it's always good to look at established laws. And if you ask somebody, do you believe in the law of gravity? Well, I'm not sure. Well, do you believe in the law of gravity? Well, yeah, okay. You can't argue with established laws because they're always true in our scientific world. And you can use these laws to provide evidence that there had to be a designer for the design that we see in this world. Just like I illustrated with the shoe. Somebody designed this. It didn't just form. And when we look at the world, we look at the universe, to think that it just happened, it just doesn't add up. And this is where you can start using evidence from the Bible itself. Psalm 19:1, the heavens declare the glory of God. Romans 1:20, creation reveals his eternal power and divine nature. Psalm 90, verse 2, before the mountains were brought forth, or ever you had formed the earth and the world, even from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. So let's go back just for a moment and think about the law of cause and effect. For the Grand Canyon to form, there had to be a big enough cause to make that happen. For mountains to form, there had to be a big enough cause. For oceans to form, there had to be a big enough cause. For this bombardier beetle to have 2 chambers built into its body containing 2 chemicals that separate our harmless, but when combined together, that there had to be somebody big enough and powerful enough to design that, to create that. So what is that something? What is that power that existed before all of these things were created? Imagine walking into a room and finding 10,000 dominoes all standing perfectly in place. Nobody would ever say they just stood themselves up. That just happened randomly. Order demands intention. So we look at the wonder of creation, and the order of creation demands that there was somebody who ordered it. Design demands a designer. Look at the eye. Somebody had to design that. That just didn't happen. You look at the bird with the thermometer that can measure temperatures within a tenth of a degree. Somebody designed that. That beetle, somebody designed that. Our body, somebody designed that. The earth, with perfect conditions for human life, the right temperature, the right amount of water, everything we see with the oceans balancing out, the moon and the tides. There's order to creation. So that automatically demands somebody ordered it. Somebody designed it. You look at the wonder of our creation, the beauty of a sunset. Last night I was driving home towards the west, and it was just amazing how red, how bright and vivid the sunset was, the complexity of DNA. One of the things that has changed in science, when I first started teaching science, DNA had not been completely mapped out. In fact, right here at OU, they did a lot of work on that. But when I first started teaching, they were still in the process of mapping out the DNA sequence. And as a result of that, in science, especially back at that time when I was teaching, textbooks were changing continually. But what we know about DNA now, the complexity of DNA, it's just simply breathtaking. How everything works together. How all of these enzymes fit together. The instincts of animals. Creation points beyond itself. And I think we can all say the universe is not random, it's crafted. Think about a man that walks into an art gallery. He sees a beautiful painting of a sunset, and he says, "It's amazing how all this paint just exploded onto this canvas." The guy beside him says, "Sir, that's impossible. A painting requires a painter." Creation points to a creator. From nothing comes nothing. So in your own life, and I think this opens some doors for us with other people, just in your own life this week, just take in God's creation. Don't rush past God's fingerprints. Let creation strengthen your faith. So we have evidence from creation. God's power revealed. And notice how we looked at evidence outside of the Bible and then also went to the Bible itself, where God presents himself as that something, that power that brought all of this into creation. Also, beyond creation, we have evidence from morality, the moral laws that reside within us. In Romans 2:14 and 15, we learn that God's laws are written on our hearts. If you think about cultures, in every culture, even outside of America, it was probably, I don't know how long ago, some of you guys might, how many of you went on that trip to the Sandblast Islands? Anybody in here, you went? You look at that, how remote was that? It's in the middle of nowhere. It's like off the coast of Panama. It's a small place that the islands, if I'm not mistaken, are built up by trash. It's amazing how remote that island is. And when they went on that trip, they came back with pictures and presented information. You go to remote places like that, and even in isolated cultures, there are cultural norms. There are laws of morality that exist. Every culture knows stealing is wrong. It's just something cultures know. Every culture knows murder is wrong. Love is good. Where did that universal instinct come from? Now, with this, you can go back to creation, knowing how God created us, but morality, the morality that exists within us, it requires a moral giver, somebody who created that. If we're just merely chemical reactions determined by evolutionary forces, there's no basis for right and wrong. Everybody can just do what they want. Survival of the fittest. If it benefits me, that's what I'm going to do. Yet we all instinctively know that morality exists. People in the world, whether they're atheist, agnostic, Christian, they believe that certain things are right and certain things are wrong. If you were studying with somebody who was agnostic, an atheist, it's easy to show this. Just start talking, how would you feel if I was able to access your bank accounts and drain all of your money? That'd be right or wrong? What do you think they'd say? Well, that's wrong. If they say it's right, then take their money. People would say that that's wrong. Or if you're talking to them, if we're driving beside each other in traffic and I just decide to cut you off and damage your car and take off, is that right or wrong? Well, that would be wrong. Well, who determines that's wrong? How do we know that's wrong? You look at the laws of the land, you certainly see that, but it's really some of these isolated cultures that you can go to, and you see that this moral code exists everywhere. That people understand certain things are good, certain things are bad, certain things are right, certain things are wrong. The person who does not believe that God exists has only one choice when it comes to explaining morality. Humanity must have thought it up by themselves. C.S. Lewis, very famous author, he said, "A man does not call a line crooked unless he has some idea of a straight line." If you know what's straight, then you're going to be able to understand what's crooked. Our sense of ought points to the one who defines what ought to be. Even when we justify our actions, we know deep down that guilt is real. Even as Christians, at times we struggle with guilt. That inner voice is not an accident. It's a signpost that we are moral beings created by a moral God. God has placed His law in our hearts. He has created us in a specific way. So we have evidence from creation. We have evidence from our conscience. And with both of these, like I've said, you'll be able to show evidence and give examples outside of the Bible, and then also point to the Bible itself where God shows us how He created us. There's also evidence from God's Son, Jesus Christ, the God who entered history. In John 1:14, we learn the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. Creation and conscience are powerful, great examples, but God didn't stop there. He stepped into our world. In Jesus is the single greatest evidence that God Himself exists. Jesus fulfills over 300 prophecies. He performs miracles witnessed by crowds. He teaches with unmatched authority. He dies and rises again. If you want to do some research, when you're looking at Jesus and His life, just research His resurrection and the evidence that supports the historical resurrection of Jesus Christ, the evidence that exists even outside of the Bible itself. Just looking at that one subject, examining that one area, it's powerful. The resurrection is the most historically attested to event in ancient history, and it makes sense. Christianity rises and falls on the resurrection. It makes sense that God would provide us overwhelming evidence that the resurrection was real. And you think about the real people that encountered the real God, from doubting Thomas to persecuting Paul. These lives were radically changed. In the lives of people and how they were impacted by Jesus, it provides powerful testimony. In courtrooms, truth is established by eyewitnesses, right? You want that eyewitness account. Christianity is built on hundreds of them. Read through the letters that Paul wrote. So often he's pointing to that evidence. 1 Corinthians 15 especially talks about the evidence that's there from eyewitnesses. There are a couple books that I'll mention that were written by an individual who was an atheist. And this individual, Lee Strobel, he decided he was going to put Jesus to the test. He was going to put faith to the test. And he was on a mission. And his goal was to prove that God did not exist. So what we're doing here tonight in this class is looking at some evidence for God's existence. He was on a mission to come up with evidence that proved God did not exist. The result was him coming to faith. And he's written 2 books, The Case for Faith and The Case for Christ. And those 2 books are about his journey, that mission he was on. And every time he researched, everything that he looked at, what he was trying to find, he found the opposite. He was trying to disprove God existed, and every piece of evidence was pointing him to the opposite conclusion. So we can investigate for ourselves as well. Books like that can be very helpful. So we've looked at evidence from creation, evidence from morality, that we believe in right versus wrong. There's also evidence from personal experience. As a Christian, there are certain things we should never lose. I don't want to ever lose the belief that God still works today, that God still works in my life. And when you've been a Christian for a lot of years, it's possible to lose that. But if you are involved in the lives of people, there are millions that testify to the changing power of Jesus Christ. Addictions that are broken, marriages that are restored, purpose that is refound, peace that is given. Philippians 4 always comes to mind when Paul talks about the peace that passes understanding. You can't find that outside of Christ. You can't find that outside of Jesus. When God moves, he leaves fingerprints on the human heart. He's done that for us. Our lives have been changed. I don't believe in coincidences. We believe in a God who listens. So reflect on your own life. It's powerful, and this is what Paul did. Sometimes when we're trying to reach somebody with the gospel, we're kind of like that boy at the edge of the forest. We're looking at this vast forest with all of these trees, and we're like, where do I start? How can I get through? I can't see my way through this forest. Perhaps the first step is to just share your life. Why you became a Christian, how you became a Christian, how God has influenced your life. Reflect on the ways that God has changed you, the ways that God has strengthened you, how he's worked in your families, how he's worked in your marriages, how he's worked in your own life. There's a lot of reasons why Paul, and we'll finish on this, I know we're out of time. There's a lot of reasons why Paul was effective as a missionary, why he was effective as an evangelist. I think one of the reasons, and this is a pretty simple reason, but it's big, he just shared his life. How many times, even in his letters, you look at the book of Acts, you look when he's writing, how many times does Paul just talk about his own experience? If you're trying to reach a friend, you can talk about all of this evidence I've looked at with you tonight. You can talk about creation, you can talk about morality, you can look at Jesus Christ. The most powerful evidence you have is your own life. What Jesus has done for you. And when you have connections with people, relationships with people, it's that personal witness, that personal testimony that many times opens up a lot of doors. Now, this is a big subject. I know it is. We could spend all 13 weeks just looking at this one subject. I don't want to do that. So tonight, we've just kind of scratched the surface. There are a lot of materials. If you're interested in this subject more, I can print some stuff off for you, give you some book recommendations. This is Out with Doubt, also Case for Christ, The Case for Faith. So if you want more information about this topic or any others that we look at, just let me know. But there's some evidence for the existence of God. Next week, we're going to look at the question about the Bible. Is the Bible from God? And between now and next week, I want you to think about this question. And if you were going to talk with somebody about that, you're talking with somebody that they're wrestling with whether or not the Bible is from God, where would you start? What would you say? And that's where we'll begin next week. Thank you guys for being here.